We want to go right now to Daniel Turner, Power of the Future founder and CEO. Daniel, I did want to talk to you about the EU and everything it's doing right now to protect its oil and gas infrastructure in response to these acts of sabotage. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least pick your fine brain on this tapping the reserve or filling it up again, because it's getting pretty low by historical standards. What do you think should be done?
Well, it have never gotten to this point to begin with, right? It's a strategic reserve, and the Biden administration used it as a hedge against their terrible oil and gas policies, and that's not what its purpose is. And so now we are at a critical moment, and let's hope the storm has no impact on our oil and gas and refining capabilities. But what if it did, right? And what other black swan events do we not know about? And so using the strategic reserves for these purposes, for political purposes, is foolish, and let's hope it doesn't come back and bite us as a nation. So it's just tragic that we keep playing these games, Neil. We're politicizing an industry, and we've been doing it for 2 solid years, and the ones who are suffering are the American people.
You know what's interesting, Dale? Out of the blue, the president just threw it out there to say, we hope, gas companies don't gouge people. I'm paraphrasing here, but they better not be taking advantage of this crisis to do that. As if. In other words, they put it out there that prices inevitably rise a little bit during a storm. But more to the point, they have been rising long before this storm. Are they throwing out the possibility or having Americans think, oh, it has nothing to do with the administration or its energy policies and everything to do with those greedy oil guys? I don't know if that's a wise thing to be passing along.
No, it's not. And they've tried this before, and it hasn't worked, but they keep going back to it, unfortunately. And it's really frustrating and actually very insulting to keep getting accused of this price gouging. Like there's some secret conference call we're all on in the morning that we set the prices. And so it's very frustrating. And you know what, Neil, if I could, I'd love to ask something, to the president about this terrible storm. And you see FEMA stockpiling oil, preparing. What would happen in the perfect Biden world that he wants, where we are 100% renewable? What happens to all those wind power and solar farms when a Category 5 hurricane hits, right? You know what can sustain a Category 5? A coal plant, a nuclear plant, right? A natural gas plant. Electricity will come back on Florida fast. But what will happen when thousands of acres of wind and solar, that's the cost of going green. This is a perfect time for the administration to answer those questions. If we're going to go green, what are the fallouts? And that is a real fallout. They do not stand up to storms.
I never thought of that. There's always, elaborate wind towers and everything. They just don't stand up. I wish we had more time, and I lied to you. I thought we were going to get in the Europe thing, but I was so interested in getting your thoughts on this. I want to have you back to this sabotage issue another time, but thank you very much, Dan. You make us think on that. I'd never thought about that. What happens if those things are destroyed? And in a hurricane, that's pretty easy to do, right?